Hello, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the sessions we had today, and we are starting the track two now with the great panel. We'll talk about the breaking the invisible barrier and audition while climbing the corporate ladder. Our guests for today's panel is Diana Agu. She's a CEO and Chief Listening Officer at Kirin Healthcare Services, and she's a board member. And Azmath Pasha, he's a CTO Advisory Meta Wave Digital Forbes Technologies and Council member. And the Anna WTM ambassador will be moderating this panel. She's a digital and the cloud marketing consultant and advisor. I will hand it over to Anna, and yeah, I hope you enjoy.
Thank you. Thank you, Shaima, so much for this wonderful introduction. Live from New York and all over the world. This is International Women's Day. I'm Anna. I'm most proud to be Women Take Makers Ambassador. And I'm all about leveraging technology, but sometimes we need soft skills. And this panel is a fantastic way for you to understand what to do, how to climb the corporate world. And I want to take a moment to reflect on the beautiful title of this panel that Diana came up with. Breaking the invisible barrier reminds me of Hillary Clinton's quest to break the ultimate glass ceiling. And being audacious reminds me of Barack Obama's book, Audacity. And this fits perfectly with our theme, progress, not perfection. So we have fantastic panelists who have been leaders in the corporate world and entrepreneurs. And I'll give them the floor. Please, Diana, can you tell us how you got to where you are now? And I'm so happy to have known you. And of course, ladies first, we'll hear from Azmath as well. Diana, tell us an unforgettable story about your career.
Excellent. No, thank you so much. Thanks for the warm welcome. And hi, everybody. It's very nice to be here. It's a great honor to be invited. And I'm super excited to be part of this panel. So, I've had a very interesting career. I am originally from Nigeria, although I grew up in the UK, and I studied law. So I always wanted to be a judge. It made perfect sense. I was the sibling that resolved all the issues and made sure there was no conflict. So, I was going down the law route. But I found myself in project management, business management, and, it's been an exciting journey since then. One of the things that I've had to leverage just to really jump on that title, thank you, Anna, is just to be bold, to be audacious. So I literally moved around in my career. I was a contractor for many years, which is a consultant version here in the US. In the UK, we call it contractor. And then sort of kind of moving back into full-time roles and just figuring out what I wanted to do. And taking each leap of faith, sometimes moving vertically, horizontally, whatever you call it. And, I found myself about 9 years ago now in the United States and kind of just continued on that journey. I've worked with great companies like Morgan Stanley, Capgemini. And more recently, I was, I sort of focused around strategy. But it's been an interesting journey. And if I would tell you a funny story, may not be funny, but there's a story that I always remember when I think about my journey. I was in a room, this was in the UK, and my boss at the time asked me a question. And this was in relation to, an assignment that I'd been given. And I was responding. But at the same time, two other men in the room were essentially talking over me and responding for me. And my manager at the time said, I think what Diana is trying to say is, and boom, honestly, I started to understand and recognize the importance of having allies. Because I think I would have just kept quiet. This was many years ago. I was still very young in my career. And I think a lot of women face that. Every time we want to say something, we want to make a point, or we want to put ourselves out there, somebody else speaks and we kind of just, step to the side. But I wanted to share that. Like I said to you, Anna, it's not necessarily a funny story, but it's a story that has shaped my career because I swore that I would never let you happen again.
Thank you so much, Diana. We also have Azmath here, who is an ally of women leaders and women in tech. Azmath, please tell us about your career and share your unforgettable story.
Thank you, Anna. I think Diana gave a very tall order intro. I'll try to keep it crisp. And yeah, been in the technology field, fortunately, for about 26 years now. And I represent many tech forums, including Forbes Advisory and MetaWave. And recently, I was the CDO at Paradigm and a bunch of other consulting companies like Capgemini, Wipro, and all that, right? So the journey has been pretty long, but it's been a very interesting journey myself. I mean, I come from Chennai originally, which is in India. And so we have a lot of tech folks from that side of the world, right? So I'm a product of that. And yeah, and have worked in the industry and come across fantastic individuals over the last 10 years as the industry is moving towards more diversity, right? I have been a diversity ally in many of these companies, and I've fortunately worked with Diana as well and a couple of years ago, and our relationship since then has been pretty strong. See, one of the things that we all talk about is about gender equality awareness these days. Events like the International Women's Day and Equal Pay Day is no longer a perception, right? It has become much more of a monumental, and it's very impactful these days. And you need to have strong allies who not only practice but also preach. So I do that quite a bit, and I'm sure Anna, we have been doing this forum before as well. So I'm really happy to be here and looking forward to share a lot of my insights in this forum, and along the way, hopefully I'm able to inspire many of our folks in this call and yeah, in this panel. Thank you. Back to you, Anna.
Thank you, Azmath. Thank you for being an ally, and thank you for being here and sharing your insights. When we were preparing for this, I shared that women leaders lead with empathy. They're good listeners. They bring long-term results. And I hear over and over that guys are sometimes intimidated to participate in these forums. Um, what is the state of the union of women in tech? Please share your insights.
All right. Diana, you want to take this or should I go?
Oh, I think it was a question for you, but
For me, all right, all right, great. So I think you need to be first convinced, right? What it is, right? Let's just look at the reality. Women make up half of the world's population anyway, so we shouldn't be judgmental or think anymore of women as minority, right? I love the idea that difference is valued and celebrated, and I also love the theme for the International Women's Day, where we're looking at tech careers for women and all that. So I think the perception convergence to reality has already happened, but a lot of larger corporations have enacted this. They put this into practice, right? But again, it is all about looking at your experiences, right? So my collective experiences go beyond race, ethnicity, gender, everything, sexual orientation, and all that stuff. So this way, basically, we look at meritocracy as well as we want to bring that balance in the workforce and the technology side. So, and we see that today, right? We have a lot of folks we see from Accenture has a new CEO who's not new anymore. GM has a CEO, all from, from a diversity standpoint. These are all fantastic to see, and they're really doing really well. And we will see that a lot, right? And that again is going to transpire across their organizations and everything else that they're going to inspire along the lines.
Thank you, Asma. So Diana is a great storyteller, and she always has such an impact. And I remember things she says, quotes and things to go by in life. So Diana, what can you tell us? What strides have you made? How have you climbed the corporate ladder? Please share with us.
It's like, how much time do you have?
You do have at least half an hour.
No, so, I've had an interesting journey. I think not unlike a lot of women that perhaps are listening right now or will listen later on. You go to college, you study, you put your best foot forward, and like Azmath alluded to earlier, you think everything is going to be based on meritocracy. Like you're going to get that job, you're going to get that promotion because you're so good at your job, and then you realize it doesn't quite work out that way. And if you are somebody who wants to start a family, then that goes a different route. But for me, like I was saying earlier, I mentioned that although I studied law and then later on criminology, I ventured into project management. I just fell in love with it. I've always been somebody who's very structured, very, so organization was something that I kind of just flowed into. And I valued relationships. I don't know if it's because I came from a large family. So I worked many years in the project management field and kind of made my way into program management and then managing sort of what we call business management, which is really managing the finances of the project in more detail, and then managing finances of a technology organization. And it wasn't easy. I had to fight for my spot. I had to bring a seat to the table sometimes. Sometimes I had to create even my own table just to sit on, and then try to get everybody else to come and sit with me. When I think about moving to the next level, a lot of the times for me personally, I've had to make a change in my career in order to actually get to the next level. And I think a lot of women probably can resonate with that. Sometimes we're waiting for that promotion, you do everything right. I remember a conversation I had with one of my, old managers a while ago, and they said, "Oh, we need to give you a bigger platform. You need to be more visible. You need to be on this project." I'm sure some of us have heard this before. And I felt like I put in the work. I did all of that. And then guess what? Fast, I actually had to go on maternity leave. And I came back and I said, "Hey, how about that promotion?" And I was told, "Well, guess what? There's another manager. It's not my decision anymore." And I knew for sure that I was always top of the list. I asked for that kind of information, which you all should, by the way. You should always evaluate and see where you're at. So I knew what I was doing. I knew my performance was good, but I was overlooked because I went to maternity leave. So I moved. I think I moved at the time because I wasn't very happy, but I also moved because I could see, like most women, that there wasn't a future, and that kind of helped to catapult me to my next career as a CEO of a technology group within Morgan Stanley. So I found that for me, I always had to push. I had to be bold. I had to be brave. I had to audaciously ask questions and challenge things. And that has really helped me to move to the next level. In the early part of my career, one of my favorite quotes, and I mentioned that I like quotes, that I really used a lot was, "She stooped to conquer." It's very hard to stay grounded. It's very hard to be humble. And just to be clear, it's not to be humble and lose your confidence. You know, it's to still be confident. It's to still believe in yourself, but to really be able to take it all in and take a step back and understand, what is going on. Sometimes we can be impulsive. And then you get to the next level where you need to use a different kind of quote to survive. and right now I think one of my favorite quotes I got from Pasha Docket. I do not want to take any credit from this at all. She's the CEO of TIAA. She talked about living your life like a diversified portfolio. I think for women, especially women that have families, that have careers, sometimes even if you don't have kids, you have other caregiving responsibilities, or just because as women, we tend to be the one to help and jump into things more and volunteer. No offense, Azmath. We have a lot going on. And so you need to live your life like a diversified portfolio, which means you constantly rearrange things in your life. There will be time when you'll be able to go for all those girly lunches and dinners. And there'll be some time when you got to put in that work and say, you know what? I need to learn Kubernetes. And there'll be time when you can, spend a little bit more time building relationships in the workplace. I know it's very hard. I know it's not as easy as I'm making it sound to figure out the timing of those times, but it's something that we need to focus on. So just to kind of wrap up, I've been fortunate to work as a CEO, to become sort of global head of strategy, and now to run my own company. And you know, half of that time I had to create my own table and bring my own seats to the table in order to make that happen. But I've been fortunate that I've had champions, mentors, and allies like Azmath, who's on this panel with me, amazing ally, who have supported me throughout my career. And you need to find those allies out, folks. It's not necessary. It could be for anything. You should have allies for different things. Allies that you can talk to from a knowledge perspective. Allies that you can, they can help. You guys can build each other up. Allies that have relationships that perhaps you don't have, and you can tap into that. I want to talk a little bit more about that. I'm sure Anna is going to ask me more questions about this one. I was definitely fortunate to have people like Asmat and a few others that they've been there for me, that kind of let me know of opportunities, or that speak up for me in rooms that I'm not, and you do the same as well, right? So I think I answered your question in a long-winded way, but it's definitely been the last 17, 18 years of my career has been very interesting. I have lots of stories.
Yes,
And
this is an awesome insight to live your life like a diversified portfolio. It's a great advice to diversify. And Asmat, it's great to hear that you're such a supporter of women leaders. And I do, as a Women Take Makers ambassador, I do participate in a lot of these women's forums. And we hear over and over that when men apply for a job, they may be 50% qualified and they just go for it and they're confident and they're sure they'll do it all. That doesn't matter if they know it or not. And then with women, unless they know every single point and every single skill, they don't apply. And what is your advice? How do you encourage diversity in hiring, and how do you encourage applicants to apply? And what is the best way to go? For example, I know even sometimes these job descriptions, they are almost impossible. They're the dream job of the hiring manager that has so many skills that almost nobody would even fit, man or woman.
mhm.
So please tell us.
So it's interesting statistics that you brought up. Actually, when I was reading up prior to coming into this forum, I heard that there's about 43% of highly qualified women like you guys, uh, either they leave the workforce either permanently or with the intention to return after having kids and family, all that, and they're exiting in droves, right? And today in America, there are more than about 3 million women with college or advanced degrees trying to re-enter the workforce, and that's an insane number. So as a leader in and trying to be a diversity champion is not easy, and you have to practice again and preach. So it's a marathon, not a sprint. So like with any big social movement, gender and equality issues are not quick fix, and we can't expect to tackle equality across all edges of society at once. For example, I would tell all my recruiting forces just not recruit for the sake of recruiting, or don't get recruited because you want to get in, right? The first thought that may come to your mind when it comes to building a more diverse workforce is to simply go hire more women. But it's not as easy as you think. As Anna, you mentioned, you have to cross all the dots and T's and make sure that the person is qualified, right? So we have to make sure that that mindset needs to change, and just don't get recruited because you have to get recruited. And it's all about how that particular organization behaviors, what they say from a social responsibility standpoint, and how do they really practice it. Okay, just making sure bringing in diversity and getting a numbers checked is not what we want. We want the right skills. We want to make sure that there are programs in place, workforce programs to bring them back in. I can tell you many, and I think you have a segment there about what are the return to work incentives. But keep in mind, I think the whole thing is about breaking down the barriers in diversity, which is not going to be an easy task. I think another 5 years you give in, it's going to be more mixture of workforce policies, uh, diversity being, nobody's going to ask about diversity anymore. It's going to be based completely on whether you check, and you are skilled to come and do the job. So it is changing, right? And you have to implement that part of your recruiting goals. You have to think it from out of the box, and how to help the underrepresented talent pool. What does an inclusive job description, bringing in a diversity hire, look like? How do you signal that inclusion and make your outreach for talent search happen, right? What are the key data to share in your public demographic, right? Whether you advertise the position on Glassdoor or Reach Hire or any forum, right? And remove that bias from different from your hiring funnel itself. And those, I think, should happen. We are not there yet completely, but those, the next 5 years, I see that as a paradigm change that's going to happen.
Thank you,
Right.
Asma. This is a very positive note, very positive note. And Diana, I know you've had 5,000 people in charge under you, and you yourself have championed programs like the ones Asma talked about, whether it's Women to Return to Work or women's programs at Capgemini, and you're also a board member and champion in many other areas. So please share your insights.
Sure. No, thank you so much. I mean, when I go back a second to what Asma was just talking about, I think it's very important to mention that, yes, as women, we tend to overthink things and we look at that job description, which perhaps wasn't written for us in the first place, right? Let's be honest. And we say, okay, I don't have the skills. I have this skills, but then I don't have this. And so I'm not qualified. And that's what you were talking about earlier. And then and man looks at it like, well, I can only do 5 out of the 10 things, but I'm going to apply anyway. So I would say do it anyway. Just apply. As long as you have the key skills, we're not saying that do not be qualified. I just talked about how, I really focused on, I think I hinted at it about really focused on developing myself and studying. I've almost really changed careers many times in the last 17, 18 years. When I was at Capgemini, I became, global head of marketing and comms and stuff. That wasn't my forte. I literally had to upskill myself in that, and my manager knew that. But he said, oh, I know you can do it. And so sometimes you find managers like that, and other times you don't. So take a chance, take a leap. Again, going back to what I was talking about earlier, be bold, be brave, don't be scared. I'm not saying that if a job description is looking for a lawyer and you're an accountant, you should go apply if you don't have any intention of becoming a lawyer. I'm just saying that try to make sure that if you have a reasonable amount that is matched, even the employer is not looking for you to tick every single box. What happens is they put a lot of the nice to haves on there. And so be bold, be courageous, step out. I just wanted to mention that. But just to kind of go back to your point, Anna, I think it's important actually as, employers, employees, whatever role we have, because some of us, we might not be even in the C-suite, but we hire people, that we make sure, going back to Azmath's point, that our job descriptions, for lack of a better word, friendly. We're not saying lower the bar. You all know that we are the best in everything that we do as women. No offense, Azmath. So, but make sure that it's friendly. A lot of women now, especially again women that have families, will look for work-life balance. If there's such a thing, they'll look for jobs that are flexible. They may be looking for hybrid type of working, remote type of working. So really, we want to make sure that we are ensuring that those job descriptions are friendly for everybody, and we're not just writing it for ourselves. Also, I've been fortunate enough to participate and be part of many initiatives, like Anna mentioned, for women. One of the ones that I started when I was in Capgemini Financial Services was a return to work for women, actually, because we identified that gap, that we had a lot of women that had been in technology or that had an interest and been in similar fields like project management, business analysis, in technology, working in technology rather, that wanted to come back into the field and technology is always evolving, right? It's very dynamic. There's so many technologies, and so they might feel intimidated to come back. So we created a program where we would train women. Uh, Very similar, I think, Accenture, Deloitte, and some of they all have this sort of similar type programs as well. But I think ours was unique because we actually also were going to really align each of the women with a mentor and somebody that they could work with. So not only do you come in and you get trained, but you also get a mentor. People, senior leaders, like Azmath will be able to give you a helping hand. You have direct access to them. They're genuinely interested in you making it. It wasn't just we were doing the program for this just to tick a box, which unfortunately I think we're still in that world with, certain companies are still doing that. And, that to me, I think that was a great experience. Even just trying to pull it all together and figuring out how to get women trained, how that was going to work. And I think that was one key thing. Another thing that I think that I did or I participated in my prior role was I created a women leaders roundtable. I realized that there were few women in leadership, which is not just unique to that organization; it's everywhere. And also, they were a little bit quiet. We didn't really have a voice. I wanted us to have a collective voice in order for us to make a change. So I created something called the Women Leaders Roundtable. But what was, I think, very key about the roundtable was that we went to further our own agenda. I said, our agenda is to further, is to really help advance the women that, for lack of a better word, we work with. Every woman. So it wasn't that, oh, I'm a director or I'm a managing director, and so we talk about senior level stuff here. No, it was how do we help that consultant, that junior consultant, that manager to get to the next level? Because, it's a pyramid, right? I mean, and if we all know that at the top of the pyramid gets, narrow and as you go up, but just imagine what it's like for women. It was literally like dripping. So we wanted to close that. We wanted to raise, issues about women not getting promoted and not, and just so many challenges that women have. So I was fortunate. I created it. I had amazing women that were willing to jump on that with me, and they trusted me. And I believe we made an impact. Up until the time I left, and I think they're still making an impact. Even in my absence. So um, I'll close. I'll close. Your question with this. When we talk about the invisible barrier, we know that the barrier is there. The goal is that we don't mind it and we keep moving. You know, when I think about myself personally as a woman, as a black woman, right, and as a non-technologist in technology, I was all the all the minority of the minority. But I was very intentional about not letting that dissuade me or affect me from making an impact. And so that's why I briefly talked about some of those two organizations or two initiatives that I was part of, because I could have just sat there and said, well, we don't have a women leadership, or, well, I'll just do my own thing, or how do we get this, and just sit there and just complain. But I realized that, okay, I had to pull up a seat to the table myself. So, Anna, back to you.
Yeah, so that brings up a very good question that somebody posted in the comment here. How do you, as a man, encourage allyship, right, in this space? So this was a direct question that's been asked for me, I guess.
I love this question.
So, and I was, as you were finishing up that trail of thought, Diana, I thought about this. This is like breaking down a barrier, right, which is our theme for today. In diversity especially isn't very easy task, and there will be individuals who are against the changes, right, from the other side, right? But by creating a workplace environment that is open about gender related issues and making women feel comfortable to talk about these issues openly, is how you, as a manager or a coach and an ally, you will be starting to setting a trend that shows that the workplace is an open and a free space to encourage ideas and thoughts, right, and discuss social issues. So again, remember, change can only be possible if the folks on the other side are open to moving together, and that's going to happen, and it is happening. And as an ally, I always try to make sure that in this side of the fence, everybody practices and preaches as well.
That is fantastic. And Asmat, would you like to highlight some of the returnship programs
Hmm.
that exist for women who've had great careers and they may have taken a break to be mothers or for different reasons. What is something concrete you can share?
So, first of all, does everybody understand what returnship is? Returnship is a concept, but it's been already practiced. So, returning to work is easier said than done, right? So, there's a lot of enthusiasm to physically return to work versus working remote has abated after COVID. Okay. The current employee market means workers have an emboldened sense of choice and control where and how they work. And you also heard the term the great resignation, where actually it's actually for me it's a great reprioritization. Instead of accepting what they can change, workers are now controlling their destiny in a gig economy, right? So looking at this, look at several aspects. First, you have to look at what were the programs that were put in place in 2021 and 2022. I've heard there's a program called the Mom Project. This was founded by Alison Robinson during her maternity leave, the former Procter Gamble marketing professional who decided to come back to work with flexible timing, working solution on a full-time capacity. So this Mom Project is a digital platform that matches moms with the employers of the startup Fortune 500 companies. So there's about 7,000 skilled women professionals who have signed up in the Mom Project. There's another project called iRelaunch, right? This was basically about 30 Fortune 500 companies have piloted a paid returnship for caregivers who have been out of work. So similarly, there have been several of these programs that are very much available. I'm sure Anna will share the details about these programs, right? And then what has the corporate America done? So from a corporate America, you look at companies like Accenture, Cedar Sinai, Credit Suisse, they're leading the pack. In fact, what Accenture did was they paid a 16-week paid returnship offers for folks to come and get trained and get back into workforce. Cedar Sinai did the same thing, right? They had a physician reentry program only targeting doctors and rebooting their careers because there's a lot of women doctors who are taking time off. I have a few family members I know who have to take care of disabled children and all that stuff, right? So we have all that kind of challenges. And then the most notable is Goldman Sachs, right? Their internship program offers about 12-week with new career ideas, and you can come and give your ideas and then they'll embark on it, and it's all paid. So similarly, IBM, JP Morgan, Microsoft, NBC, PayPal, all of them have done this stuff. It's all over there in the internet, and you can pretty much go ahead and apply for these returnship programs and get back into workforce. It might be a 3 month, 2 month time investment, but it's a very good investment because you're exploring whether this is going to be a refit for you coming back into the workforce, right? At the same token, your employer is also helping you assimilate back, right? And it'll be a win-win situation. And I've seen this success of these programs very highly talked about in the industry in the last 2 years. And look at returnship opportunities. When you are interested to go back to work, ask the recruiter what type of opportunities you have. You don't have to sign up for full time. Try the test the waters. Yeah.
Thank you so much. This is awesome to spread awareness about these programs. And now, more questions. You are both leaders in the corporate world, also entrepreneurs. Diana, you said one of your challenges is you are non-tech in a tech world, and Azmath is very tech. So, what is your? Let's start with Diana. What is your advice if somebody is wants to switch careers, and they're a woman in tech, or they're a woman that doesn't have technical skills but is in the tech world? Um, yes, what is your advice? What is difficult to do? How to do it?
That's a very good question, Anna. Thank you. I think, it depends on exactly, what you want to do. And I'll qualify that a little bit. You can be non-tech, in a technology world, and you never really have to to tech, so to speak, right? You have to work with other technologies, so you need to at least have that sort of common general awareness, and but you don't have to be an expert. But then you may be transitioning where you're switching careers, and let's say go back to my accountant example, you're an accountant, and now you decided that you want to be a software developer. So that's a 360 turnaround, and you're changing your career. I'm old school. I believe in honestly studying. I believe studying everything. I'm not the type that like to say, hey, you can just wing it or Google it, because technology is not easy. It's a dynamic industry. My husband is a software developer. He's constantly constantly solving and studying and learning new things. So I would say, first of all, depending on the situation that you're in, identify what you want to do. Find people that are already in that field and have conversations with them and kind of get a feel of how that is. Also use that opportunity to narrow down one or two allies, friends, or people that could continue to support you as you make that transition. So that way you can always have that conversation with them. When I started earlier on as a project manager, I was able to connect with people that were already in the field, people that had experience, that were able to guide me when I had questions. So it wasn't just that, oh, I went to study and I did a course, I studied it, and then I was working and I had work experience. No, but I also had people that were experts and that they were able to mentor me. So seek that out, uh, first. I would say kind of get all that. If it's a situation where you can't be unemployed, which means you can't do full-time study, then you have to really do that strategically before you make that switch. If you have the opportunity to take a break, maybe you can take a 3-month break, 6-month break, 1 year, whatever your situation, that's amazing, because you can really get into it. Attend conferences relevant to the area that you want to go into. So for example, we just use the software development as an example. Find sort of like-minded type of conferences. Join Google developers, for example, if you're in that field. Don't just kind of sit and be like, okay, I'm switching from being an accountant, but I did a course on Udemy, and so I'm fine. There's just so many. It's so different to the hands-on experience in real life. And honestly, you can even leverage social media, like leverage LinkedIn. There's a lot of leaders like Azmath, that you reach out to them, they'll respond to you, and you can try to engage them and ask challenging questions and find out like, hey, what are you looking for in an employee in this role? What would you like to see? So that you're well prepared. I'm really an advocate for that. And then start to have initial conversations with HR, with recruitment of those companies to kind of find out if they have existing programs that you can jump on as well. Just like how, we were just talking about the returnship. Find out if they already have existing programs that you can apply to, that, they're training in that particular field as well. So, it just kind of depends on where you're coming from. But I think those are some of the core things that I want to put out there. And again, back to one of my favorite quotes. Anna is always talking about me and my quotes. Listen, if somebody offers you a great opportunity and you don't know how to do it, say yes and learn how to do it. That's Richard Branson. Always say yes. Take the first step. Everything starts with the first step. I know it can be a lot. It can be overwhelming. It starts with the first step. I've gone from law into project management, into business management, into CEO, into strategy, even though I plan my career trajectory, I'm a notes person. I write everything down, So everything that I am right now, I wrote it down 5 years ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. I believe in that, by the way. We can have a separate session for that. I write things that I work towards it. I write stuff on my board. I'm really very particular, and I plan everything. And honestly, preparation never killed anyone. So
Yeah. So great points, Anna. So I think answering yes is good, but the other thing that you guys have to think about is this could be your second act, right? You are re-entering the workforce is your second act, and then the question here Anna asked was, what about getting yourself in the technology field? So look at there's many programs, large companies, small companies, any of their size. They call it Leap Apprenticeship Program, right? What it is basically trying to offer the foundational training, right, for folks who probably did alternate careers or switching back. And this is particularly geared for re-entering workforce for women, especially, right? And these are all like, there are like several forums out there. You can go to LinkedIn. LinkedIn should be your first springboard. And it's
Yeah.
amazing. I have benefited personally with LinkedIn for last over 16 years now. I've been an ardent user of LinkedIn, and there are now intense courses that are offered for free. Okay. And it might, some things might just go above your head because it's all technology. But why? Then you can just join the second act programs that are available as paid internships from the companies, and then learn those technologies and climb the ladder. You
Right.
never know. I mean, there's always, you never give up until you say, I'm done, I'm retiring, right? So we're
Yeah.
we're long away from that. And I think, as Diana said, say yes, but at the same token, have an open mind to go learn. Do not just say, I don't have math degree, should I be a data scientist? No, go ahead. There's only few concepts of math that data scientists use. Learn those concepts. Sign up
Yeah.
for fundamental courses and training programs. Never
Yeah.
say, and there is a big workforce requirement right now. We don't have resources. A job has about 200 applicants, and vice versa. There are many jobs right now and less applicants in this market now. So
Yeah. No, and Anna, if I may add, I think it's very key to mention some of the challenges I think that we as women we face, and of course we face, like we kind of talked about earlier, the lack of positions that are created or designed with women in mind. And then, but we also face burnout. We face, not getting promoted. We face not having a voice. We face not having advocates. There's just so many different things. I think I read a lot of studies, and I think it was Deloitte had a study. I think they started in 2021 and in 2022. It was, I think it's called the Women at Work report. I think they surveyed 5,000 women in 10 countries, and it was still the same thing. There's really the sort of the key themes that are coming out is the lack of opportunities and burnout. There's 40% women they were still looking for jobs, new jobs. I think about less than 10% said they were going to stay with their current employer in the next 5 years. So honestly, I think employers have to do a lot more to really step up to see how we can really design work for women. Reshma Sojani has been talking a lot about pay up. She wrote a book called Pay Up. And the fundamental of the core, what she's saying is a workplace is designed for women. Why do we even have to go back into physical work like Azmath was talking about earlier? Because women have a lot more childcare responsibilities. There's a lack of childcare in the United States, and don't get me started on that. So there's just so many challenges that is still happening, even though there has been slight improvements. With the pandemic, we still have that issue. So really, employers and leaders, like us, and those that are hopefully listening to this, really need to continue to prioritize making the workplace friendly for women. Yes, we've made gains, but we can do more. And we naturally, as women, we take on more work. We always want to do extra, but we don't speak up, right? So it's okay when you have that thought, speak up. When you have that idea, raise your hand. And yes, sometimes you're not going to get that opportunity every single time. Seek champions, mentors, and sponsors out. Do good work, obviously, because nobody wants to sponsor anybody who's not doing good work. But seek out allies and try to learn from people that you communicate with or you work with on a daily basis. So I just wanted to add that.
yeah. So my final,
Thank you for this inspiration. We have 1 minute. So
yeah,
in 10 seconds, what is your biggest wish for women in tech?
yeah. So my wish is, I want to encourage everybody, any woman, especially because it's a Women's Day event, right, who are attending this panel, to actively invest in your self development and be confident enough to put yourself forward for a promotion, for a pay rise, or a more senior role, or returnship coming back to work, and celebrate your difference, right? It's at the end of the day, it is in your hands. So take this as an opportunity, and really thank you and the panel for having me on this call.
Yeah,
Appreciate it.
yeah, no, excellent. And remember, ladies, men, it's progress, not perfection. We can do it. There's only a barrier there. I mean, we know it's there, but just ignore it and just keep pushing forward. Thank you so much. Thank you
Thank
guys for the
you.
opportunity.
Thank you very much for this
Thank you so
inspiration.
much, Anna, Diana, and the Azmath. Like your discussion, it's really inspired us a lot for, like, to not be scared from any career shift or any new opportunity that can hold the big surprises for us, and let us discover what we really love. For our next session, let's welcome Rahatara Ferdousi. She is a WTM ambassador and a PhD student and research assistant at MCR Lab, University of Ottawa. She will talk about digital twin technology for healthcare and how this become like more like successful in it was more successful in production industry, and now it's rising in healthcare industry. So let's welcome Rahatara and give the mic to her. So I sorry to interrupt. I think you are muted. So let's check the voice because we cannot hear. No, I see your lips talking, but I cannot hear anything yet. So we still cannot hear anything. I don't know. Maybe your mic is not allowed in the browser. If you need to rejoin, like the same link.
Yes,
That's perfect. Okay, now we
it's
hear you.
perfect now.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you so much.
no problem.
So maybe I can share my screen again and restart. So hello again. So I'm going to talk about digital twin for health and well-being. So before I go to the main agenda, let me quickly introduce a little bit more about me. I'm currently a PhD student and a research assistant at the MCR lab of University of Ottawa. And here you can see a small part of MCR lab. We all are working together under the leadership of Professor El Sadiq for the creation of digital twins in order to enhance the quality of life of citizens. Also, I accomplished my master's thesis in digital twin diagnosis from the same lab. And to get more updates about our research and innovations, please feel free to follow us on MCR Lab social medias. Now, let's move to the main part of my talk. Now, today, when we are celebrating these events, someone in other place is suffering physically and financially for delayed diagnosis. And maybe some doctor is working very hard to simulate a surgery on a model of heart. However, those are time consuming and labor intensive process. And this process could be automated and fostered through applying right technology on humans' health data. And this data may include your fitness data, daily life data, electronic health records, even your social media data. And here came the opportunities for the researchers to introduce digital twin to offer right healthcare at right time from anywhere. So what is this digital twin actually? When I heard the term digital twin for the first time and saw this figure in the article, I pictured a twin sister in my mind. So, in my simple assumption, I thought digital twin is something that looks similar. However, digital twin is much more sophisticated than the visualization. And as here you can see that the director of MCLR lab, Professor El Sadiq, is trying to interact with his digital twin. So apart from the visual twinning, digital twin should understand and act at the same time. Now, to give a formal definition of digital twin actually is the virtual representation of physical entities. And those virtual representation could be in form of a 3D avatar, hologram, or even a humanoid social robot. But it could also be a software components without a tangible representation depending on the need of your application. Now let's see how digital twin came and changed over the years. So to talk about the evolution of digital twin, I would like to refer to this figure from one of our recent studies, which is entitled as Digital Twin for Health and Well-being. So it was first introduced in 2003 by Grief in his Product Lifecycle Management course. And in this basic 3 layers digital twin framework, it has 3 pairs: calibration, control, and augmentation. However, these frameworks could not handle open and user-oriented broader applications like the healthcare, agriculture, or other applications, because those required real-time decision making. And then the CPS-based architecture was proposed, and it has opened a door to establish a bridge between IoT and digital twin. Therefore, digital twin is no longer only tied to the manufacturing industry, and it has gained potential to advance other industries like health and well-being. And nowadays, well-being applications have a diverse range of goals due to increasing number of connected things. And this scenario has raised the demand for intelligent framework. In 2018, Professor El Sadiq proposed such an framework which has an AI inference engine where machine learning and data mining techniques are used to offer real-time tracking, forecasting, and collective decision making. And the fourth one is the actually combination of CVS and intelligent digital twin framework, which uses both the AI and also the Internet of Things. And nowadays, digital twin is not just a high-level concept. This line graph can give you an idea how faster digital twin became popular. And after 2016, there is a surge in the research, and the major portion is covered by the health and well-being. Also, there are some notable progress in industry, and Google's cloud platform has been used as a tool for implementing digital twin. And in recent years, Google launched digital twin called supply chain twin as a tool to build a digital twin representation of your supply chain. And as you can see that here, companies like Siemens, Philips, IBMs are already creating digital twins of patients' health. Now let's see the digital twin ecosystem that has been rapidly used in health and well-being studies. So this is the digital twin healthcare ecosystem proposed by MCR Lab in 2018, and later it has been adopted in other studies to propose digital twin for fitness coach, organ twin, hospital twin, elderly monitoring, even for mental health twin. So as you can see in this figure, this ecosystem has 3 main pairs: the data sources, where the sensors, IoT haptics works as human 5 senses, and it has an AI inference engine that may act as human brain, and multimodal interaction through gesture, touch, and haptics, and so on. And these 3 pairs are connected through communication network. And as you can see here, that there is a loop from and to the users to ensure the quality of experience through a feedback loop. So here, as you can see, that AI is actually the core part because it is compared to perform the task of human brain. And without it, a digital twin will be just like an information system. And here there are several application areas of digital twin in healthcare. Let us see some of them. So digital twin is helpful to meaningful data visualization. Also, it can be beneficial for predictive healthcare so that we get alert of our health conditions before we become a sufferer. It can be also used for personalized healthcare system, for instance, as digital twin coaching, elderly healthcare, and immune system care. And for those, the machine learning capabilities are used by the digital twin architectures. And it is rapidly used to understand clinical pathways for planning treatment, surgery, and medication. Why? Because testing treatment one digital twin replica of human health minimizes the risk of hampering human health. For example, planning surgery on a virtual heart models. Moreover, since the procedure is done on the virtual replica instead of the real human, it can be done several times. And of course, digital twin can ensure quality of experience in healthcare. Let's say your digital twin can understand your mood and play a relaxation music to reduce your stress. If you don't like it, your digital twin can adapt according to your preferences. Now, so far I have highlighted how amazing and beautiful digital twin is for healthcare. But you might be thinking, then why is not such technology is widely accessible in not our hand? Well, because the digital twin for healthcare deals with human health. And in case of human health, there exist some socio-ethical challenges. And for example, a heart disease prediction model trained with 30 people may not be inclusive and acceptable for everyone in practice. One top, getting clean and authorized data for building healthcare prediction model is really challenging. However, recently there are technologies like transfer learning and data augmentation to overcome the data shortage, and explainable AI to explain the prediction so that the users can calibrate their own trust. Now, to wrap this talk, I would say digital twin can transform the healthcare into virtual healthcare to ensure well-being and timely diagnosis for the citizens. Thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, please feel free to direct message me on LinkedIn. I have shared my Google Scholar and LinkedIn profile here, and wish you all a very healthy life.
Hello everyone. Hello everyone. I'm Nadia Taheri. I'm a GTT Cloud Organizer and Woman Tech Maker Canada. Today I have the honor to introduce you Alexis Snelling. She's a founder of WeTransact, and she also a Google Woman Tech Maker Ambassador. Today she is going to talk about learning and creating IWD 22 NTF together. During the presentation, the Q&A will be open, so feel free to ask any questions. So welcome, Alexis.
Hi, thank you so much, Nadia. Yeah, I'd love to start off. We're going to dive right in. This is a very hands-on interactive workshop. So I'm going to go ahead and share my slides for a moment here. Looks like one sec. I'll do share screen then. Okay, great. So first thing we'd like to do today is I've seen a lot of people that have logged in. So if you can go ahead and go to this address, WeTransact. This is where we're going to be collaborating together so that we can walk through how to create this NFT image to be included in this amazing Progress Not Perfection collection. And then how to make sure that you approve it so that we can include it in a collage to be sold to support the Ukrainian Red Cross. So please take a moment. I'm going to let this sit on the screen just for a little bit. You are going to go to the address go.wetransact.live. You'll see this icon. It can work on your mobile device. This is a PWA, a progressive web app that is hosted on the Google Cloud. So definitely you can use your Google login and it'll log you right in. If for some reason you have a different email address that you want to enter from, you can do so. It will just send you a verification link to your email and then let you in. So take a moment, please, everybody log in. This is an important step so that I can go ahead and authorize you. Oh, great. I see we've got some new people. I'm going to add you to the circle so that the items will appear for you. And thank you, everybody who did this early. We really appreciate it. This is so fun to be doing this side by side with everyone. Okay, so I just granted a few more access here. Looks good. Oh, I see a few more coming through. Thank you, guys. And then we'll dive right in and get started. All right. Got a couple more. Oh, this is wonderful. Thank you for your patience while we get it all set up. We want everybody to be able to do it. There's nothing better than being able to do it live together. Great. And all right, this is awesome. Okay, Leslie, thank you. Okay, Leslie, turning everybody on. All right, we got a couple more. Thank you guys for your patience as I get everybody set up. Okay, getting Lawrence on. It's well worth the wait so we can all be on the same page. Lawrence, okay, who else we got here? And do one more minute, and if you're not able to log in right now, you'll also have the recording and be able to upload your image and be able to do this in the next day. So don't worry, even though we're doing it live, we do want to also give everybody the opportunity to participate who would like to. Okay. Great. Few more that have done it live, so give me a moment while we get them on. Okay, getting a few more. Almost there. Hottie, this is exciting to see so many people. This is really going to be cool when it's all done. And as I'm granting you access, so you will be able to refresh your screen and you will start to see some cards appear on the Kanban board, which is the first screen that you're logged into. So just give it a moment and it's going to be sending those to everybody who I'm granting access to right now. Wow, this is amazing. So let's, I'm going to do a few more. Hopefully you're in this set. Anything after this moment, I'll probably have to do after the workshop so we can get started. But thank you for being here on time and early so we can get you guys all set up in the system. And here we go. Two more. Nothing like doing it together in person, so I'd like to try to do everybody while we can. Menashe, okay. Super exciting. And one last one here. Okay. Shaima. Thank you, guys. All right, and Michelle. Wow. I am so impressed. This is so many exciting people. This is going to make the collage absolutely amazing. Okay. One last one, and then unfortunately I'm going to have to dive right in only because we're limited on time today. But don't worry, you will be able to have access. I will turn everybody on after this point, and you can definitely participate afterward. Please follow log, so when you log in or we've granted the access, it's easy for you to just pick up and take a few minutes to upload your image. And there we go, Marie France. All right. And now I can get started. Okay. Thank you guys so very much. This is an honor to be here today. I'm Alexis, CEO of WeTransact, which is the platform that we are on right now. And this platform helps us collaborate so we can all be on the same page. We can all upload. We can have all the materials that we're going to need for the NFT collage and your permissions to be able to mint this so that it can be sold on OpenSea. And that is where it will support the Ukrainian Red Cross. We'll have everything, even including the receipt of all the proceeds that we earn from it, minted into the collage. Every step of this journey is being documented. So this final collage series is going to be really amazing culmination of this entire experience. So let me switch screens now and stop sharing and go back. Okay, thank you guys. We're going to now dive right in to the presentation so you can see how we got here. This has been quite a journey, and I wanted to share with everybody that our journey to get here. And I just want to make sure we can see my share screen. Perfect. So now we are all logged in. Thank you so much. I'm Alexis Snelling, CEO of WeTransact. I wanted to share with you a little bit my story as a Google tech maker ambassador. I do not have a technology background, and I know that's something that there are many of you out there who may come from a lot of different backgrounds and experiences, but they all relate to technology. So I started off maybe around computers at a young age, but my background was as an Olympic level figure skater. I competed all over the world in Olympic training centers, while of course staying in school, not putting all your eggs in one basket. And I went to school for French and economics. So I became very interested in global economics, policies, labor economics, things of how people find work in the world, how do they do what they're passionate about. And that became really important to me. And then as I graduated, I then started my own businesses. I was always an entrepreneur. I knew I wanted to start my own companies. And that is when I went into the fashion industry. I was in the bridal industry, and I was one of the first salons in the United States to actually purchase the Vivienne Westwood Carey dress from Sex and the City. This kicked off my fashion career as I launched my own companies and stores. They went online, they went retail, then we had to do remote training globally. And that is when it led me to the West Coast in my travels. I met my husband and now co-founder, David Snelling, where I realized my true passion in life was not selling dresses. It was seeing and helping people achieve their ultimate dreams in life, whether that is career, whether that is work, whether that's personal goals. These are the things I care most about. And all my training experiences and all this collaboration with coaches and teams and all the people that helped me get to where I needed to go, I wouldn't be here today without them. So that's when we really shifted. And my husband and his background being obviously in technology was the other half of that puzzle. So this is how my path got here today with you as a Google Woman Tech Maker. I hope this inspires people. The reason we did this workshop today in terms of progress, not perfection, and also here SDG Goal 5 for gender equity is because women's participation in Web3 marketplaces is only 26%. And actually, the percentage of women who are even hold cryptocurrency or you have a wallet is 14%. So this is a huge lag, and it's going to be a major economic issue as women now need to transfer over from Web 2 to Web 3. So this is when we had an amazing event with the IWD Northeast, and Anna was the first one when we talked about how can we do something to get more women involved in IWD into NFTs. And we brainstormed after one of our sessions together, and just from an idea of, hey, what if we just create some NFTs together? People won't be so afraid of it. We can answer questions as we go along, and then now they know how to do it. So it's learning by doing. Then it's not so intimidating. And yet we wanted to pay it forward. What can we do in the world? And I think all of us here today have strong ties and connections to the cause and supporting the Ukrainian Red Cross. So this is from the first workshop, and these are some of the NFTs that are minted. They are live in the Progress Not Perfection series right now that's on OpenSea. But what we're doing today is an extension of that. It's part 2. We're doing a mosaic because so many people were very, very excited about what we were doing. So now it is your turn to join us in this. It doesn't have to be just that one workshop we did. We are expanding the series to include this amazing mosaic. So think about, what does Progress Not Perfection NFT series and this you support Ukrainian Red Cross mean to you? That's really important, as we now want you to share your stories. So your stories, taking your ideas, your goals, what this means to you, and think about what image you could create. So now you can go to this link to be able to create your own NFT that is authorized. This is a Flutter app created by Roman, who put this together just for the event. I'll leave that up a little bit longer. If you are in the app, you can click directly on the first card and you will be able to link directly there. If you're not, you can also follow along, and I'm going to switch my tab so you can see the app. Alrighty, so now we are going to the address here, and we're going to go into this amazing app that Roman created for us. So you can enter in any quote you'd like to see, and it will automatically enter it here. You can also select from other pre-filled quotes if you are feeling like you'd like to go with one of those. And of course, you can leave your name. Now remember, this is an NFT that will be living on the blockchain forever. So if you do not want to use your full name, if you want to use a nickname, if you don't want to put a name and leave it anonymous, please be conscientious that this is going to be a public image. So you can put in those items. You can also change your backgrounds, which is fantastic. Something that speaks more to you. And let's say you have an image. So you can go in here, and I'm going to upload one of these amazing images that Anna has from her series that she did. And you could position this around and be able to then create an image. So once you have your image, you're going to click download. And now you've got your official NFT image generated image ready to upload. So go ahead, have fun with that. You don't need to do it right this second if you're not ready to. If you want to work on that later, you're more than welcome. But at least now you know where we're going. And I'm going to now go into the app so we can start to upload. So we are going to share screen to the next tab. Thank you guys so much for giving us this chance to extend this entire series. It's quite exciting, and we're really honored that we got asked back to be here today. So I'm going to go into the WeTransact. Great. And now let me just make sure. Wonderful. Making sure I'm logged in so my screen looks like your screens. Alrighty, and here we go. All right. Wonderful. Thanks, guys. Just trying to keep everybody on. All right, wonderful. So here we are. This is the Kanban board. You have create your own image. That's where we just were. Now we are going to go to tab 2. So some of these were here from our previous workshop. You're welcome to clear those away as they no longer apply. You can move them to done. This, of course, will show you where the collection is minted if you want to browse on your own. But the second tab at the top, if you're on your phone, it might be a menu at the bottom. It's going to, when you scroll over, say diligence. This is where you are going to start answering the questions that we need. So, do you know what an NFT is? You can go ahead and upload that. Go ahead, click. I'm going to just get a few of these out of the way. If you have suggestions for us, please let us know. This is progress, not perfection in action. This is the very first time we've ever done this series. Okay, now we're getting to what we really need to be doing. So this is the important part. We need to upload your graphic. You have to give us your permission that it's okay to use your image, and you are giving us permission. If you're not, that's okay. You can use your own image. You can post it on social, but please agree to that if you would like us to include it in the mosaic. The next part is going to be the participant information. Please fill out this form. Now, this does say as you'd like it appear to the purchaser. So this means that will be visible to the public on the OpenSea marketplace. So make sure you're comfortable with your full name that you put there. If you don't want your full name, again, put anonymous or maybe your initials or something that you can know it's you, but it doesn't have to be public information. Now, this is an important part. Why is this important to you? We asked that question earlier. Share with the purchaser. This is going to be our hidden secret content on the NFT, where when they buy your NFT or the mosaic, which is going to have all of our information, they will have access to a special link. This link is only viewable to whoever purchases the NFT. So we thought it'd be nice to share our stories. Let them understand why this is important to every single one of us in this collage. So please go ahead, take a moment. If you want to record a video and then share your link there to your video, whether it's YouTube or Loom or whatever you want to do, you can, or you can just write it out and share a few sentences. Something would be wonderful. You're really getting to speak to someone who obviously cares about this as well. Your Twitter handles, this will also be available publicly. So if that's something you'd like to share, that also can be shared. So please go ahead and fill that out. Now, this is the upload your graphic. So here you will be able to select your image, and I'm going to go ahead and grab this one right here. And if you are uploading your image, you will see it up here. Now I've uploaded a GIF. So it's actually moving, but I also did that just for the demonstration. You, of course, will be uploading the flat image, the static image, because that's what we'll be using in the mosaic. And once you see it's correct there, you can press send, and that will make sure we have it. So those are the main areas. All of these other questions, of course, we'd love to hear from you, but they're not necessary. Now you have absolutely everything you need. The image is uploaded, and you've granted us permission to include it in the mosaic. So feel free to ask any questions. We know along the way you're going to have questions. That's something we learned from our first workshop. So I wanted to go ahead in here and make sure we could address that for you. And one of the areas, this is the resource tab. So you're going to move to the next tab now and see information about what we're doing, where is it going, all the questions that came up. If you have more questions about, okay, how are these payments being transferred? Who's going to get paid? How do we see that? All of that is here. And if there's something that is not here, let us know, and we'd be happy to add additional resources and make sure that we make this experience as full and complete and wonderful as possible. You can play videos here as well. You've got messages from our team. There's also videos of how to do the Flutter app again in case you missed it. There's a great intro we did from our first workshop, which is what is an NFT. This is wonderful just for background information. And next, this is the area where the reason we gave you this login is not just to upload, because you could do that just with a form. And it's not just to get a bunch of resources, because we could send you a link. It's also to engage with one another. So now everybody has been added to this circle. All of us here participating in this workshop and the previous workshop are together in this area. We have a FAQ section, so you can ask any questions that you want along the way. Post videos. This is private. It's just for us to chat and all stay on the same page. This was something I posted just this morning. We will make sure that we all respond, help each other as we ask our NFT questions. We learn about this workshop. It's hands-on. We want to really help everybody at every stage and where you are and feeling comfortable using NFTs as a tool for good. As you go down, there are going to be news and project updates. So if you want to see where the collection is minted, you can do so. You also can learn more about us and who we are as the future founders and ways you could get involved with what we're doing and other NFT projects. So I'm going to stop sharing this really quick and see how we are on time. Take a look. Okay, so I would love to also open it up for any questions. I'm here, of course, to help make this a smooth experience as possible, and also give you this collaboration tool so that we can all get this mosaic put together. I'd love to share with you if we don't have any questions. Let me see if we've got any here. Okay, let's see. This link to okay, I see some in the comments. Yes, thank you guys so much. This is great. It looks like people are getting on. Feel free to ask any questions you'd like. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share and just keep chatting until I see things pop up, but I hope that's a good sign that there aren't too many questions. We will share what is coming. So what I'm about to show you is a draft of the mosaic, so you can have an idea of where all these images that we're uploading right now will live. And we are going to have a few different mosaic collages that will be put together, and these will be added to the final collection on OpenSea, and they will be sold. And we're very, very excited about being able to announce how much was raised and tell the story. So definitely make sure you log into that collaboration area, that discussion area, so you could stay up to date on everything that's happening, and we'll keep everybody up to date each step of the way, because this is something you definitely want to share, promote, tag. We're going to give everybody a really great graphic so you can share that you have participated. We'll give you a graphic when it's minted so you can share you just had your NFT image minted in this collage. We'll also give a graphic to help promote so that we can get, the most at auction as possible for this amazing collage. Okay, so yes, so this is where you'll upload. So just to answer, WeTransact is where you are uploading your graphic. The graphic is the one that you created using the Flutter app. WeTransact is where you're uploading it, so we can gather all the materials, permissions, answer questions, help everybody get through this part of the process, and then we'll be putting that together into this collage and be uploading the NFT so it does land an OpenSea in the main collection. And there is, yes, thank you, Sherry. There is a dedicated NFT channel. This is an ongoing thing. This is why it's fun. It's a little different. And I'm going to share that view with you guys so you can see some of the collage drafts. Now, this is just a draft, so it is not the final one because we are waiting for you to upload yours. So now I believe everybody can see. Okay, great. So these are some of the collage graphics here. We have a wonderful graphic that's going to be overlaid. All of the NFTs are going to be included in the mosaic behind. Now, keep in mind, we will be doing some contrast and make sure that they're all readable and very visible. But this is just a mock-up so that you guys can imagine what's about to happen. This is one with the logo of this year's event. This is a culmination from a regional Northeast Google Tech Maker and Ambassador and International Women's Day events all the way to today. So this isn't a very exciting finale that you guys are being able to be a part of with us. And of course, the Ukrainian flag. So we're excited about these mosaics. There may be more images, but we want to, first of all, make sure we get everybody's images uploaded. If you have any questions, let us know. Yes, I will be approving anybody who may have logged in after that first 5-minute period. We just, of course, had so many participants wanting to be part of this, which is thrilling. I will do so the second I get off this workshop. I will turn it on for you, and then you can go through the steps that we just did. Any questions? Else that I can see here. I know today we wanted to do this first step in 30 minutes. I think we've actually done it with 4 minutes to spare. So this is exciting. So in terms of approval, I just want to let everybody know the approval process is really, of course, we're just checking content. We have to make sure that it follows the Google guidelines for participation in this event. They're the same guidelines that you accepted when you registered for today's event. And of course, we want to make sure that it's all appropriate content and is following the progress, not perfection, Flutter graphic guidelines. That's important for us because if you're uploading images that don't fit that Flutter dimensions, it's too much in terms of our team being able to get that consistency to put the mosaic together. So we want to make sure that we can get everybody included. So please use the Flutter app. I'm going to go back here so everybody can see the Flutter app one more time. And that way you can know exactly what I mean when I say Flutter app. There we go. So this is the maker. This is what we really want everyone to be creating the graphic on. Now, I did get one question earlier before the event. You are not too late. We are going to let everybody upload. After this call, I will make sure you have your access turned on. Once it's turned on, you'll see those red cards appear so you can go through the steps and upload your image. And we will be leaving this open for the next day. So for the next 24 hours, we have another workshop tomorrow. We invite everyone back where we dive more into like actually minting and uploading an image on OpenSea. So it's a little different side of the process. But today we're focused on the art, the graphics, your stories, what this means to you, because at the end of the day, it's this amazing community of support and the difference we can make in the world right now. So please take your time, create a graphic that means something to you. Join our NFT Slack channel anytime. Of course, you have the app to communicate if you have specific questions, get updates, everything will be there. And as you're going through this as well, I want to make sure that you know we are here for your support. There's no question too big, bizarre, strange. The reason we're here today is because we had so many great participants and questions asked during the first workshop. So I want to thank everybody here and the team for making this possible, for dreaming big with us, for starting with this idea that we had. And you know, this is the last thing I want to say before we sign off, to really share with you more about who we are and why this means so much to us. And here we go. Awesome. So it comes from us as female founders. So this is an important mission to us as female founders to not only help gender equity in terms of getting access to capital, but also knowledge and resources, learning how to use these tools so that we can create these world-changing ideas and companies and bring them to life. So we are the Real Raise NFT Future Founders. Real Raise is a movement. It came out of COVID that is based around ending founder isolation for all. And we wanted to create a virtual village where everyone with big ideas and mission-driven leaders could collaborate for good. So here's a few ways you could participate with us. If you want to continue your NFT journey, please join us at our website. You can log into WeTransact. There's more information there. But the one ask we have today, if you enjoyed this workshop, is please sign our petition for us to launch our own NFT founder trading cards. They will be grants to support founders with their world-changing ideas. Thank you so much for everything today. We're right at the hour, right on time, which is amazing. And I'll pass it back to you.
Thank you so much, Alexis. It was amazing. I would like to play more about these new tools. Thank you so much, and I think I hope to continue tomorrow for your workshop.
Thank you so much. Great to see you. Merci.
Merci. So yes, again, the next amazing speaker we have now is Andrea Perdomo, a director of Economic Inequity Initiative or Uncharted. Sorry for my pronunciations. Today, she's going to talk about acting, closing the gender wealth gap. I'm very happy, excited to know more about this topic. And during the presentations, the Q&A session will be open. So feel free to ask any questions. So again, welcome Andrea Perdomo for this your presentations.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Nadia. And it is such a pleasure to be here. I'm so excited that I got to hear the previous session as well. So I'm sure that you all are having a great time at today's event. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. I'll talk a little bit about who I am and what I'm doing here. And really excited to just kind of talk about a very timely issue that's been going on in the world, but also one that's been happening for a very, very long time. And so really excited that the goal for today is really for you all who are listening and tuning in to just increase your awareness about what's happening as it relates to the gender wealth gap. And then second, hoping that you can take a few action items home with you of things that you can do either as an individual or potentially a person who is sitting in a position of power to really make changes so we can continue to make progress towards closing that wealth gap. But really, really excited to be here. All right, so I will kick it off. Can you all see my slides? Gonna go with maybe, there we go. All right, so a little bit of background on me. So my name is Andrea Perdomo, and I am working currently at Uncharted, leading a really incredible initiative called the Economic Inequality Initiative. So I am supporting entrepreneurs around, specifically here in the US, who are working to close the wealth gap. So it's been a really fascinating journey, not just to be able to continue to help entrepreneurs, but also to really kind of shed the light and kind of start looking at all the issues that exist and the progress that I hope we can make. So if you want to learn more, I'll pop the link in there about the work that I do at Uncharted. But today, really focusing on one of the wealth gaps that exists, which is around gender. So I'm hoping to make this interactive. So if you are on your computer, there's a comment section on the right. Just quick question to all of you. What does wealth mean to you? And I know it's a big question, right? We're all kind of tuning in from different countries, different parts of the world. So there's a lot of different things that wealth might mean to you, but just kind of really quick, what does when I say the word wealth, or what does that really mean to you as it relates to your personal life, or maybe your family or your community? Any write-ups on the comments would be really great, because I'd love to see kind of where we are before I jump into defining what it is. So what does wealth mean? Yeah, personally, professionally. So I know a few, like, for example, like, I'm assuming lots a lot about money, right? So kind of where the capital sits. Sherry said wealth equals knowledge. I love that. There's a lot of different ways in which you as an individual, right, might be defining that. So wealth as it exists today, right? We're really going to talk today about wealth inequality, also known as the wealth gap, and it is an unequal distribution of assets. So one of the things that I did want to just kind of talk about briefly is the main difference between, I know, for example, in April, it was equal pay day, right? And there's really kind of a big difference. One is the gender pay gap. So that's about your compensation, how that compares to men versus women. And then there's the wealth gap, which represents the much larger picture. So today we're going to, yes, talk about pay and compensation, because that's a big piece, but also looking at wealth, which is much bigger, right? So we're talking about your ownership and assets. So interestingly enough, right, following this conversation about NFTs, that's a really incredible way today to democratize access to assets and wealth. And so really, really exciting that those are things that are happening today. All right, so I'm going to go through some facts. These are a little bit sad, but you will see that there has been a lot of progress that has been happening across this topic in the last decade or so. So I think most people on this call probably know that all over the world, men actually tend to earn more than women. Any guesses? Or actually, I have it on here, but in the US, women actually earn less than 81 cents for every dollar that a man earns. That has improved a little bit since 2016, but not by much. In the US, Black women earn less than 63 cents. So I think something that's really important when we talk about wealth is really looking at the intersectionality of not just gender, which is predominantly what we're talking about today, but the intersects between race, ethnicity, as well as sexual orientation, and several other ways in which the society has really discriminated against people as it relates to wealth and wealth creation. Women are often underrepresented in senior positions. Actually, this one was a bit shocking to me. Only 19% of firms have a female manager. So really looking at like who's in a position of leader and who's in a position of power. Women are often overrepresented in low-paying jobs. So here's a stat from the UK. So 69% of all of the low-paying jobs are actually held by women. And that was since 2018. Women own less in assets than men. And the drastic difference here. So really, again, when we're talking about the wealth gap, it's more than just the pay. It's a lot of different, it's a culmination of a lot of different factors that have kind of driven the finance and the economy to where it is today. And so US women actually own just 32 cents for every $1 that a man owns. And that amount, again, is much, much lower for Black and Latino women. So one of the, I'll kind of read off a quote here that I think is very real to what's happening today, but also hopefully we'll talk a little bit about how you all can take action towards this. So the reality is that if we do nothing, it will take 75 years for us to really see women expecting to get paid the same as men for work. So, again, like if we do absolutely nothing, it'll take at least 75 years. And that's just talking about gender. We're not even talking about how long that would take, for example, for a woman of color, right? So 2 questions here, and hopefully I'll get a few responses. If not, it's all right if the group is shy. But what actions are you already taking to close this gap? And then the second is, maybe you haven't thought about it yet, but what do you hope or wish that you could do? Again, this is an issue in which has been a culmination of a lot of societal norms that we have lived with. And a piece of that is definitely around gender norms. So what we have been told women and men should act like, feel, right? So I know we hear that a lot, for example, that men are the breadwinners in their homes. I will tell you firsthand, if you hear a baby cry, that's mine. I'm still on maternity leave, which we will talk about too. But that's something that also contributes to this wealth gap, right? Is the parental leave. And so again, like what actions are you taking, if any? And if you could envision kind of the world in which we should live in, where there is this gender equity, especially in the economy, what would that look like for you? So if you have those thoughts in there, please do share. So one of the pieces that I wanted to kind of jump into here is, again, there's you as an individual. So I know that this is a community of innovators. You're all developers in some way, shape, or form. You're creators, and even within that, there's a lot that you can do individually to begin to take action towards this wealth gap that currently exists. And again, if we do absolutely nothing, it's going to take over 75 years for us to really start to make progress. So one is increasing your awareness of gender bias. So a few of the pieces that I mentioned earlier, right, around the biases that have existed in our society for a very long time, and they're not exclusive to North America. They actually could look very differently in other countries, but the bias still continues, right, which is essentially the roles in which women and men play, for example, in a family, in a relationship, in work. And so increasing your awareness of what those are so that you at least know what people are really kind of contemplating as it relates to that. That's definitely step one. You showing up today, that's a huge step in the right direction, right? Again, like our goal today is just to really show you all that there's a lot of progress to be made, and I'll jump in a second of progress that has already been made, which is always great. So again, like increasing your awareness of gender bias. Two, and this was a big one that I admit that I am still working on, which is super simple, kind of follows the first one, but stop saying or assuming that men are the breadwinners. So breadwinners really means, right, again, in a family environment, that the man is the one who is earning the most, working the most, contributing the most to a family. And that is just not true, especially in today's age with COVID, right? We have seen that women are actually taking a much bigger role as it relates to the work that has to be done, not just within the home, but actually within work life as well, right? So you're seeing a lot more women entering the workforce. Unfortunately, COVID kind of set a lot of that back, specifically in the US. But that's a really, again, going to one of the gender biases that exist, assuming that men are always the breadwinners. Just stop saying it. It's one of those things that if all of us as individuals start to contribute and really dismantling these biases that have existed, we're going to start to see that change. And three is sharing daily household demands. So maybe you are in a relationship, right, where you're kind of sharing different roles, and also does not have to be a heterosexual relationship, right? You can, but it's very interesting about how when you look at a household in particular, and I can geek out over family sociology, but the daily household demands, for the most part, we traditionally will revert back to our gender norms, right? Like women cook, women do the cleaning. I think, again, like COVID has really highlighted, specifically for maybe some of the men on this call that have stayed home with the kids during COVID, just how difficult that role is. And a big thing that, again, as an individual you can do is sharing those household demands. And then the fourth, and this is hopefully to inspire all of you, is ask for what you want, plus 20%. So this is maybe more for some of the women on this call, that we tend to really undervalue ourselves and undervalue the worth that we really bring to, whether that's a job or a different career. And one of the biggest advices that I always give to women who say, how do I negotiate a larger salary? Or how do I personally begin to create wealth for myself? Ask for what you want and then add 20%, because we are shy. And I guarantee you that there are, men on the same situation as you that are asking for 30% more, right? So that's my one advice of how you can actually start to create wealth for yourself as well, is just ask for what you want because you deserve it, and add 20% to that. So please, and if you have questions along the way, please feel free to pop those in the chat. I'm looking at that now. So maybe there's a few entrepreneurs on the call. I hope so. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and gender equity actually increases profitability and the return on your equity or to your investors. So there was actually a recent study that was done with around 4,000 companies, and it proved that when those organizations started to look at gender equity and actually created actions to fix the problems that they had, they saw their profitability increase by 1 or 2%. So not like this is a great thing to focus on. It is the right thing to do, but it is also the smart thing to do. And so for any of you on this call who maybe happen to be in a position of power, where you're either hiring a team, you are running a company, you have influence over, what is going on around you. These are 4 steps that, again, you can take to really begin to make those changes. And again, like a smaller scale, but it'll grow if we're all kind of doing it together. So number 1 is understanding the pay gap. So again, talking about pay gap is a piece of the puzzle, but it's definitely a big one. So making sure that you know within your organization, what does that look like, right? Maybe you're doing better than you thought. Maybe it's worse than you thought. The data is always going to tell us what's really happening. 2 is making a pledge. So making a pledge to make a difference is great, but then do it, right? So I always tell a lot of entrepreneurs who will come to me asking for advice on how do I increase my diversity efforts, or how do I really make sure that we're compensating women in our organization the same as men? And it's, again, looking at the data and then investing. So invest in doing and making those changes. Again, if you need help convincing leadership or board, it is going to improve the bottom line of your organization. You are actually going to see more profitability if you make this a part of your strategy within your company. The 3rd is check for bias. So this is something that might actually come up when you look at your pay gap, but looking at your organization and checking for any biases that might be happening, right? So are you seeing more women in positions of leadership than men? Are you seeing, who is actually getting promoted, who is getting compensated, or even not looking at just salaries, but also equity, who sits on your board? And so those are all things that you can, again, start looking for of any biases that you might have. And then number 4 that I think a lot of times when we talk about gender, it's women, right? And because it's definitely a topic that is about us, and we should own it and do as much as we can. And I hope that this conversation will empower all of you to make a difference. But without men, none of this is going to work, right? This is a conversation around equity with both genders included. And, not to mention that there is also a lot of biases and gender norms for men that actually, we should look at, right? And so including men it's number 4, but if it's just as important as the other ones. If you're a man on this call, thank you for joining and listening and joining to learn more about this topic. But also know that you are in a position of power. And if you're not, maybe you can actually have a conversation with someone who is, to actually begin to make that change again. So including men, I always feel is something that is left off when we talk about this. And it's so important. And again, pop questions in here if you have them. So I wanted to highlight too, two tools of some organizations that actually exist to help you make these changes. So one is Cape Inclusion. They help you map out and collect all the data that you need to look at your pay and compensation across your organization. And then Pipeline Equity. So they actually focus on not just supporting you to make that pledge, but also taking action, right? So what is an investment of your time and energy look like for you to actually begin to make that change within your organization? So two tools, there's a ton out there, so trying to curate from all the noise that is out there, but those are two tools that I definitely would recommend to you. And then Katika Roy, she actually is the founder of Pipeline Equity. But she said something that I just kind of want to say out loud so that it sits with all of you related to what we've been talking about the last 20 minutes or so. But whether or not you believe that intersectional gender equity is a social issue, we cannot deny that it's a massive economic opportunity to the tune of $12 trillion globally. So again, right, it's yes, it's the right thing to do, but it's also the smart thing to do. So gender equity, equity across race, it really actually will benefit everybody. And I think that that's my favorite. This is one of my favorite quotes because it just shows you at scale, right? If we were really looking at our economy from a lens of equity, and it would really transform. It would benefit all of us. So I love this quote from Katika. And then again, like there is progress. So I'm going to talk to you about some hope and things that are happening already, which is really wonderful. One is that in the last decade, so most countries, the gender pay gap has actually decreased. Not a whole bunch, but it has moved in the right direction. So again, like getting closer to, like, yes, it's 75 years, but if we continue to take these actions on an individual level and at an organizational level, hopefully this decrease will continue to happen. I love this one too, because education, I think someone said, right, wealth is knowledge. So a lot of that is getting equitable access to education. Women make up the majority of university students in nearly 100 countries and actually run slightly ahead of men in completion. This has been a pretty big change that has happened over the last few years, and really, really great to kind of see that women, again, are not only entering the workforce at higher rates, but are also really representing a majority as it relates to universities. And this one is, again, maybe one of my favorites because I'm biased and I'm a new mom. But over the course of their career, the most productive employees in the workforce are working moms. So I will let you know how that goes starting Monday. But I think that, this is something where, we didn't talk about parental leave too much, but the US is actually one of the only countries that does not have paid parental leave. Most countries, including Canada, for example, they have 15 weeks minimum paid, up to 75. In the UK, it's 39 weeks paid. And so, again, if you look at the stat, if working moms are the most productive in the workforce, it would be great if there was parental leave across across specifically here in the US, but other countries that may not have as much. And then I will end on this note, and hopefully I think we'll have a few minutes for any questions, and I saw some come in there. But I love this quote by Malala. It says, "I raise my voice, not so I can shout, but so that those without a voice can be heard. We cannot succeed when half of us are held back." So again, if you are joining, thank you for spending the last 25 minutes or so with me. This is a topic that I'm very, very passionate about and continue to be very close to. And I'm hopeful. I'm very hopeful that there's been progress made, and that together, again, if you can take some of those action items, either as an individual or as someone who might be leading an organization or has that power to do so, those are all the pieces to the puzzle that will move us in the right direction so that we can begin to close the wealth gap all around the world. So really great to have this time with you all, and I have a few more minutes to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you so much for your presentation. It was amazing. You have a few minutes for question. The first question comes from Sherry. She asks you, what's your take on salary transparency? How do you bring the conversation in the company? Good questions.
Yeah, Sherry, that is a great question. Salary, I'm actually pro salary transparency. I think that is something that, for one, you know what you're getting yourself into, right? And it's something that you as an individual can look at and say, okay, does that salary make sense for me? And so I'm speaking maybe specifically. So there's two parts. One is salary transparency on job description. So if you're applying for a job, knowing what that salary is or even a range is really great, because again, you as the person who is applying can actually make a decision on whether that's something that is going to help you and fit your lifestyle. And then the second is that it creates a transparency so that you can actually hold your leadership accountable for whether you are being underpaid or not, or the other way around too, right? You might be getting overpaid and saying, hey, especially for the men on this call, I noticed that I'm getting paid more than my colleague. We have the same experience, right? And so it just starts to actually bring up these conversations. And I think to your second point, right, of how do you actually start to talk about this within your company? What I've learned is that especially today, employees actually hold a lot more power than you think. And so by being able to bring up this conversation to your leadership team of something that you want to see, and maybe it's not the salary transparency, maybe it's, hey, let's at least start with a salary compensation analysis, right? To see where we're at and to create transparency of where we could go in the future so that there's equity built into the process from day one. So hopefully that answers your question, Sherry, but I am pro the salary transparency. I think it creates an equitable environment for people when they show up to work.
Thank you for your answer. If you have any question, feel free to ask on the chat, Q&A sections on the YouTube. I don't see.
Yeah, and I'm always here too. So if you want to connect with me on LinkedIn, if you want to just talk about this, or maybe you disagreed with something that I said, I always welcome conversations. I think that that's how we will all learn and continue to improve together. And again, actually, just a huge shout out for any working moms out there, like kudos. This is super hard. And I'm going back to work on Monday and it's terrifying. And so, I just wanted to give a shout out to any of those working moms out there, because it's one of the hardest jobs ever. And I don't think that women get enough credit for raising the next generation of our leaders. So.
I completely agree with your this idea. Yes, yes, and if the people don't have now the question, but he can react with you on the Slack, and feel free to connect also tomorrow. In a few minutes, it's happen the closing event. If you have any questions, so okay, I think so.
I'm not seeing any, but if you do, again, feel free to reach out. I'm excited to get this opportunity. Exactly. And yeah, we'll connect soon. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Nadia and Andrea. That was such an insightful panel. I hope you all took away plenty of actions. I know I did. And so again, let's continue the conversations on Slack. Feel free to reach out to Andrea there as well, or on LinkedIn. And so now, an exciting moment. So we are going to be drawing a raffle prize today. We're also drawing another one tomorrow. So for this first one, we're going to play a little fun game where we're going to use a tool to draw some names from folks who have shared on social media, have used our tags and such. So we'll be pulling from that list of folks. Let me just pull up this generator. Let's see if I'm able to pull it up on my end, so you could take a look at this Very cool interactive tool. Okay. Oh, you see my my tabs. Let's make this full screen. Let us know in the chat how everyone's doing. How's everyone feeling? Okay, let's just do this to just pull a name. Awesome. Alexandra Di Battista, if you're on the channel, feel free to comment there. Just let us know. You'll be winning a Google Chrome Slack book. Let me stop sharing my screen. Do we have the slides that we could pull up here? Okay, cool. So Andrea will reach out to you. Feel free to ping us. And I think that's it for our program for today. You know, be sure to share your feedback as well. We'll drop it in the comments box. Like I mentioned, we'll be having a raffle at the end of each session. So today, Andrea, you won the raffle for today, and tomorrow we'll have another one, and we'll simultaneously have another raffle drawing for folks who fill out our feedback form. So thank you so much. Continue engaging with us on Slack. Let's continue the conversations, continue connecting. Be sure to also use our tags, you know, that's the way to join our raffle prize. So be sure to use our IWD North America tag, our hashtag progress not perfection, and tag us at Google Devs NA. And on the slide there, you'll see our feedback form, and we'll also be including that all in our comment box. So thank you so much. We hope you've enjoyed the sessions today. Looking forward to seeing you again tomorrow.